Good evening, everyone. Tonight, another Thursday night. We hit, Tuesday night. What am I doing? I'm rushing ahead. Let's not wish it away. We've got a great Tuesday night set up for you, the 8th of July, for episode 180 of So What's Been Happening. This one with Robert F Cranny. We get to find out what the big F stands for. So if you haven't done your homework, you can look that one up. It's a great name, great middle name. Interested in why just the F in amongst this, but this is a really exciting one. The Party Crashers, great name. Intrigued from where it all came from, but some great stuff. Robert's been working behind the scenes for many years. Put out a little solo project as well recently, so that's going to be exciting to talk about. But a couple of shows for next week. We go Tuesday again, which is really exciting, the 15th with Blackbirds FC. We'll talk about their new album just being released. And on the Thursday, the 17th, we're going to chat to a band called Temperate, who have been opened for Rose Tattoo recently. So a really exciting one for a young band to play with rock legends, Rose Tattoo. So episode 180. We're rolling along now. We're not long ago, we're sitting at episode 150 and working out what we're going to do, but we might have to plan what's next for episode 200. And once again, I'd like to thank Chris Familton for connecting Robert and I in this chat, doing some great things in the publicity world for local music. In amongst this, so Famo, we'll give you a little logo push as well. And great to see you doing great things. But we're going to, before we kick off, as we kick off, we're just going to bring Robert up for a chat and talk about life. And most importantly, g'day and welcome to episode 180 of So What's Been Happening, Mr. Robert F Cranny.
Thank you, Aaron. And congratulations on 180. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Cheers. This little podcast kicked off or started in amongst the death that was COVID. In that kind of period. We don't like to talk about it too much, but some good things came out of it, and including, without big noting myself, we're still episode 184 years in. It was never supposed to go past episode 1, but it's an exciting time to continue to connect with artists like yourself and have chats about life and find out a little bit about how you tick.
Look, if I ever get the chance to join that reel, your intro reel of all those other great local acts, I'd die happy.
Beautiful. Well, that's very nice and kind of you. And I'll make sure you do, given the beautiful bright colours in this backdrop and your efforts to make a nice little tonal backdrop for yourself tonight. Great time to put out music. A tough time, an interesting time. What have you noticed over this current time about trying to get some cut through in today's world of the joys of Spotify and live streaming?
Yeah, it's I don't know, because I've been doing this a long time in a multitude of ways. I still think that going to see bands is something that I do a couple of times a week at least, and that opportunity belongs to everyone. Everyone can do that, and more often than not, they don't even get charged at the door. So I think there's opportunities to see music now better than ever. Maybe not in all suburbs. Maybe I'm a little bit. Maybe I have a bias because I live in the inner west, and there's definitely some great things happening there. But in terms of releasing music, yeah, things have changed. It's definitely easier to get music out there. It still costs effort, money, and a bit of talent to make it sound good. So you find yourself, listening to things of different quality through the same media, which you probably didn't so much in the past, unless someone was burning you a CD and handing it to you on the street. But
yeah.
I don't know if that's a bad thing. It's just a different thing.
Yeah, it's the old world of mixtapes, eh? They're kind of playlists now, and they're a little bit different than they used to be, but all in amongst that, all the same, and great to be able to share those kind of things in and around and discover new music in the world of Bandcamp. I suppose the joy of Spotify and stuff now at least gives you some reach, and also gives you some of those, if you like this music, you may like this, which I think's a really good recommendation. sadly makes you no money or next to no money as an artist, but it does give you some reach. So there's a lot of negative and kicks and in the guts on Spotify and some of those streaming services, but nothing like seeing a band live and being able to connect with an artist and be, enthralled in amongst their music and buy some merch and do all those things that we used to do back in the day and we still continue to do today.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about mixtapes and the value of those, great labels still put out compilation CDs up until the death of the CD and beyond. I've got great CD compilations from Spunk or Merge or Matador that date from only 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So no one was probably making money out of those per se, especially the ones they handed out. But I still think that's in the vein of what happened in the tape era with the mixtape. Chance to perhaps latch onto some acts you hadn't heard before just because you were a fan of one or two on the tape or on the CD.
Yeah. Do you remember back to any of your old mixtapes and what was on your kind of last cassette you put together?
I still have treasured mixtapes that were made for me.
Great.
By a schoolmate when I was at high school.
Awesome.
And I think this was probably when most people were wrapped up in the early part of the, I don't know, the Britpop thing or maybe the grunge thing. I was given a window into the wider kind of indie scene. I remember these great mixtapes with Ween and Butthole Surfers and Jesus Lizard and Fugazi and stuff like that. I was very lucky to see some of those sides of what was going on. Just simply because I was the older sibling, and all of my mates were the older sibling, and my mate Felicity had an older sister, and just whatever those couple of years were, it just made all the difference.
Yeah, some great names in amongst that little set list. What do you find, or what do you remember in early days of listening to music? What was kind of playing and where was it? What's your kind of earliest memory or vivid memory of music?
Look, the family home is where I first encountered recorded music. My mother grew up in the 50s in Liverpool in England and attended Beatles gigs at the Cavern. And so listening, cleaning up the house on a Saturday was a chore we all shared, and Mum's vinyl would come out, and so we'd listen to A Hard Day's Night or something like that. And my first memories of listening to music was my parents' record collection. But I will say this: when Mum was involved, she'd pull out the vinyl, and so we had some great. Particularly remember the Beatles stuff, like not the super cool stuff, the very early stuff. We had a great Who live album, but the flip side of the coin was, when I was operating, I certainly wasn't allowed to touch the vinyl, but I was by a certain age, maybe 5 years old, I was allowed to touch the cassettes and the cassette player.
Yep.
So that kind of that led me into the ABBA and Bread and a lot of dodgy 70s stuff that my parents bought on cassette. That I heard Elton John's Greatest Hits 2 on cassette, which is all that like Someone Saved My Life Tonight and Philadelphia Freedom, before I ever heard Your Song, because that was on vinyl and I wasn't allowed to touch it.
Yeah, it's a different way to experience music, isn't it? Some of the magic, you kind of listen to a lot of B-sides or a lot of special editions, I guess, versus what was put out in vinyl. So yeah, pretty cool way to do it. It
was permission based,
which isn't such a bad way. Do you let people touch your own vinyl collection these days, or are you what do you like? Are you pretty staunch around your vinyl collection? Are you a vinyl collector?
I have vinyl. I have thousands of CDs. CDs is what I have the most of. I started collecting CDs in the 90s, and I didn't really stop until maybe 10 years ago. And I never got rid of any. I know a lot of people digitized them and thought that was a good excuse to get rid of theirs. I'm too paranoid. I don't think my ability to maintain hard drives is good enough.
Yeah.
So my rule is, if someone comes to my house, they're all my CDs. They're all my albums, I allow them to pick. Because theoretically, I already like it, and they should find something they want to listen to. But not all my friends have the same rule. I have friends where if I visit their house, they just pick all the music and don't let anyone else have a show. So there's a clash of cultures where that's concerned.
Yeah, and just on that, that discovering different mediums of music and what they're listened on. So you go on the cassette, the CD, and the album, very different mediums, I guess you'd say. But obviously the CD and the album share A side, B sides. How different do you find that medium over the years of CDs? And do you think that changed anything in music as far as the way set lists were constructed or album lists versus that magic flip of what finishes an A side turns into a B, flips over to a B side?
Yeah, I think it's funny when you hear records from the CD era and they appear to be written in a side, B side structure. The one that comes to mind is There's Nothing Wrong with Love by Built to Spill. So it seems to me like the first song begins with the line "in the morning," and then the sixth song begins with the line "the morning comes." And I kind of felt like that was designed so no matter which side you put it on, the first thing that you heard was someone talking about waking up in the morning. On the CD, it doesn't really happen like that. But that's one that's always made me wonder, and I've never found out whether that was designed to be an A side, B side thing, but was only ever really majority listened to on a CD.
Yeah. And obviously growing up with cassettes, that magical moment of when to turn the tape to get on the other side of the right spot on the other side of the album or the tape cassette was a big challenge, wasn't it?
Or with making a mixtape, Dicing with Death, whether you could fit a whole song on that last little bit of tape and you had to sort of give it an eyeball. And then, people who sacrilegiously would just let the song end and then flip it over and keep recording the second half of the song onto the start of the second side, which is something that, unconscionable if you're asking me.
Yeah, absolutely. And a comment from Peter Thomas, he's 100% right. CDs are making a bit of a comeback, but so are cassettes in that respect. Some young bands putting out cassettes, little limited edition issues, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I always peruse the cassettes in the record shops, and I've actually got a good mate that's recently installed a cassette deck in his dining room, which is where he listens to music. Underneath his record player, it has pride of place, and a lot of I know that there's like Spirit Goth Records, for example, has a cassette club that's active. I'm sure they're not the only ones where people can subscribe to their cassette club and receive cassettes in the mail. And that goes back to the old days of, actually waiting for the physical thing to arrive so you can listen to it. And you've got every opportunity, I'm sure, to stream it, but you can still, if you want to have that experience, I think that's if it's it's fun anyway. It's probably very easy to cheat. It's very easy to cheat, but if you take it in the spirit.
Yeah. All right, we're going to chat a little bit of Party Crashers. Tell us a little bit about the band. When did it kind of see its infancy and it's been born now into a debut album, which is really cool. We'll talk through as well, but just tell us a little bit about the forming of the band.
Yeah, well, like yourself, I don't enjoy using the C word, but it was definitely affected by the lockdown. We had a 6-piece alt country band called Peachfield to put out an EP and did some shows. But I always tell people we lost 2 members to COVID, but they're alive and well. We just kind of lost them from the band and mostly geographically because we turned around 2 years later and they were just living out of town. So that was kind of like me writing a lot of songs for a female vocalist. We had an electric guitarist, acoustic guitarist, and me just sort of noodling on the piano as a standalone pianist. I was kind of trying to live out my Don Walker fantasy where I'd sit up the back and, I'd write the songs, then I'd sit up the back and just play the keys and someone else would be the star. But I think when we lost those guys, and I say lost quite wrongly, the challenge of putting that band back together again and replacing those components, we had to go, but it was really hard. And we got another male singer in for a while that was quite talented, but we had to change the key of everything. And I think by the time that didn't really work out, it was kind of obvious that I should just sing the songs, and that we just switched Letty, who was playing acoustic guitar, onto electric. We sped everything up. We changed the key of everything so I could sing it, and then we just threw it at the wall. And what stuck ended up becoming the genesis of Party Crashes. So we had a sound then that was based on these kind of country songs, but we just sped them up a bit. And I got to sing them a bit rougher, of course. And then I just wrote to that template. And then when we had a bunch of songs, we moved on a drummer, and we got, we knew we were looking for a drummer in the vein of a kind of garage rock guy or girl. And it didn't take us long to find Owen.
Great. Very good to hear. All right, we're going to kick off with or rest the voice and play a bit of the single Party Crashes. It's got a little soft intro, so don't be persuaded one
it's
way
a
or another.
cinematic intro or
That's
theatrical
the right
intro, I'd like
Correct.
to call it. Yeah.
All right, we're going to play a minute or so of this and kick back in. So here it is, Party Crashes. Treat me like the party crashes. That's an interesting line. Talk to me through that one.
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe it's about someone thinking that it's their party, and you're just a guest at their party, right?
Sure. It's a gripping one, but I love it. It builds quite nicely, that tune, and not a bad one to kick off with.
Yeah, thanks. It's definitely got the most production. We put the most produced one up the front of the record. It's got the cinematic beginning and those great sort of faux vocal kind of lines coming over the top in the chorus with a female voice, which is entirely fake. I'm glad you like it. It was a bit of a no-brainer once we landed on the song title as the band name to put it up the front.
Yep. Yeah, great. And the album cover, this one, it's a great shot. Tell me where'd that come from and which bit of magic created this one? Where was it?
Yeah, so our studio is the pet food factory in Marrickville. Used to be on Faversham Street, now it's on Cadogan Street. Remarkably equidistant from the Marrickville Bowling Club, so no harm done. It's a joint that we share with Frenzal Rom, the Hard-Ons, Restless Leg, and then any of the other bands in their diaspora, Nunchuck Superfly and Neptune Power Federation, and on and on. So we were leaving the studio after our regular jam night and peeled around the corner and dead set there was a tree that had just fallen on a car, and there was a bunch of factory workers in like a chicken processing joint, all just milling around. Mercifully, we managed to get a shot without any people in it, but there was a bit of a crowd, like around what had just gone down. And then, I guess it all just came together at the last minute. We sort of decided that we wanted to just, create our own artwork, and that just fit the theme so well. And I touched it up a little bit with the Blood Red Leaves. Was kind of the same treatment of another famous self-titled record that we were influenced by. So we just went with that.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, we're going to move on to another song called Stoked With Your Diagnosis. Now, this one's got a great cover as well. I'm going to just bring up the cover before we kick into it. Bear with me 1 second. Here it is here.
Yeah, this is a great shot. It's a photographer called Mark Henwood. He's got a lot of great work. I picked that one and I asked him for permission to use it. It's is it Wan Choi Harbour in Hong Kong? So that's looking across Victoria Harbour at the island. Happy Valley Racecourse would be just over the buildings to your left. So it's a place that I've had a lot of fun. But I just there's definitely there's a story in that shot of the two animals in various stages of deflation, seemingly comforting each other. So I loved it and I thought it suited the song. So I'm glad we got to do that.
Beautiful, interesting title too. So you'll get to see a little bit more of that album cover as we play this one, Stoked With Your Diagnosis. Here we go.
You have never been loved before, so you've never been hated, and your mother's graduated. Now we're hoping that the new doctor might be the one. Have you outgrown the in crowd? Are you too old for Newtown? If you act out when you blacked out, does it make sound? Is it so atrocious to be stoked with your diagnosis? You can never get lost now. In your dreams you're being found. Talk of making partner now, but it's not the kind your mother goes about. Have you outgrown the in crowd? Are you too old for Newtown? If you act.
All right, we're going to urge you to jump on Bandcamp or one of the platforms. We'll put up the link tree and you can jump on and hear more of the songs, and most importantly, download a copy, buy a copy, gift it to a friend, gift a song you love to a friend. If you can't, gift a whole album. But it's a beautiful, mate. This is a nice up-tempo one. It's a little bit of a as Peter Thomas has just referred to, it's a bit more of a greatest hits style. You're playing with a few different little feels in amongst this album. How hard is it to put together obviously you got a bit of music behind you, putting together this album and getting it all to click and trying some new things. How hard is it to curate and what hits the cutting room floor on these ones?
Yeah, interesting question. As I said before, like we had a catalogue of songs that were in a kind of alt country vein that we had to kind of see if they would fit in this new style. And then once we arrived at that, and the songs on the record that have survived that test are songs like Speed Street, which is that's probably the better example. Sleepy Carriages is one, but that also kind of still somehow manages to sound like a half-pied Bell and Sebastian song. So I don't know whether we made the leap to garage rock with that one. But this one was one that I wrote really like. I always leave 2 slots when I've written an album. I always leave 2 slots for new stuff. You always seem to come up with something right at the death. That's whether I'm collaborating or just working on my own.
Interesting.
That was one of the 2 songs that just came together right at the death, and it's I don't know. You be the judge if it worked or not, but it's certainly got a bit of freshness to it. I guess it's a bit underdone, but only to taste.
Yeah, I was going to say you're a harsh judge thinking it's underdone. It's I reckon you nailed it. It's a ripper. Love it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a poached egg. It's not an omelette.
Yes, but you always get to flavour it when you play it live and add little pieces and components and extra musos in and amongst it. What's the lineup? Do you get a chance to add some extra musos in amongst different gigs these days? It's a little hard, when you talk budgets and you only get paid so much to be at a gig these days or perform at a gig.
Well, when we did this, so the rhythm section is Jill Watts on bass, and it's Letitia Michelle Shepherd on guitar. It's she who swapped from playing basically a rhythm acoustic to playing playing my old 90s Japanese telly. And she doesn't really play any lead. She kind of plays it as a rhythm instrument, but it's a different kind of feel to, a kind of strummy old country thing. Yep. And it kind of makes Jill Watts the kind of lead bass player, because she gets to play up and down the neck a bit more, because we just got one guitar, me on piano. And we were working on the songs in that frame for a while. And then when it kind of, I sort of get sick of writing and producing on my own. It's like eating your own cooking. I'd rather collaborate with someone and then get a few surprises for myself in the mix.
Yep.
And then when I realized I wanted to do it properly to tape, and do it locally, we were circling the drain to come up with Owen Penglis as a collaborator, because he's just such a great. He's good at everything. We could have let him write a couple of songs, to be honest. But yeah, he's a great engineer and producer. And when I first talked to him about the project, I said, look, I've got this thing going on that I really want to collaborate with someone. It'd be great if they were a garage rock drummer as well as a co-producer. And when I finally went to bite the bullet, and I went and had a little sneaky beer with him at Young Henry's around from where his studio is, he said, okay, great. Well, it'll be this much money, this much time. Let's go for this. We do the vocals anywhere, blah, blah, blah. He said, who's the drummer? And I said, mate, you've already agreed to be the drummer. And that's where we went from there. Perfect. So, yeah, the main change to what we were doing was just adding Owen over the top, adding a drummer last, which is something that just seems ridiculous. But it's funnily enough, it's not the first time I've done it.
Yeah, right.
The first time I did it was we took the Sarah Blasco album to LA in like 2004. We didn't have a drummer. We did that. We tracked the whole thing. And Joey Waronker, the guy who's just played his first Oasis show in Wales the other night, came in at the top and played drums as the last instrument.
Yeah, so wow. Great story.
I'm just going to pretend that that's my MO. But really, it was just an accident both times.
Yeah, well, I think it's a formula worth sticking to. If it works.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I meant it. I was doing it the whole time.
Yes, it's it's interesting. I feel, did you have a preconceived idea of what that drum was or that you needed, or did it just, sometimes you can have those magic experiences where you get that drummer and he gets the chance to, or she gets a chance to add their flavor as well.
Yeah, there was definitely some moments where I sort of said, I wanted this bit to be a bit more stoic. Can you cool down a bit? And, the little faces go like that when you say that, but that's all drummers. But I always want it to be a collaborative thing. Like if I say maybe not, and someone goes, no, I really think it works, then, we can just have the debate on the spot. I don't, I'm pretty malleable. As I said, I really enjoy collaborating. I really think I find it quite difficult when something's really homogenized, and when it's me homogenizing it, it's the pits, man. Like I really do appreciate other voices. So yeah, he was ideal because of his credentials and because, I've seen him play. He's better known as a singer guitarist, but he's he was the drummer in the Holy Soul, for example. So and I guess I remembered he was a drummer. I went and saw Toby Martin spent a year in England, and he came back with this album that he recorded with a bunch of POMs. And then when he played it live in Australia, he had Pat Matthews on bass, and Owen was the drummer for that lineup. And that probably reignited my memory of Owen as a drummer. And that probably pushed him back to the top of the list.
Yeah, well, a bit like yourself. Everyone from a muso point of view that want people stay in one lane. People hate those multi-skilled people that can do a bit of everything.
Yeah, look, I don't know. Like some people love like a 9 Inch Nails album or a Smashing Pumpkins album, and God bless them. And it's no doubt there's a lot of talent in those groups. Do you sometimes think I'm hearing too much Corgan right now? But I guess that's a question for the ages.
Yeah, sure. Well, you can talk about bands like Foo Fighters. Sadly, had to put a new drummer in and just gave the band a whole different feel. And now they've decided Josh Freese isn't the answer. Obviously, everyone's thinking the Little Hawk's going to come in and take over, but all yet to be revealed, I guess. But and Matt Cameron's just announced he's done or parting ways with Pearl Jam today. So, those kind of things kind of come in and shake up a band or change a feel. Obviously, bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers had multiple lineups and still got that same feel and sound. There's multiple bands that have had different lineups and all had their little twist. But changing people like frontmen and front women and those kind of things, I think, are much more noticeable when you've got a voice change, I guess.
Well, you've certainly betrayed where you come from with that list of bands you just referenced. So that's so thanks for that. Thanks for that honesty. It's almost like it's the first rule of rock and roll. Like you can't possibly change the singer, but then huge
Absolutely
bands do it.
Yeah,
you just AC/DC and New Order,
one of the biggest bands ever.
They're just huge bands. Like they would just change their singer. So yeah, I don't know. No hard and fast rules, and possibly what people latch onto about a band is something a bit more ephemeral. And look, there'll always be people that say that band died the day that person wasn't there anymore. And those purists have every right to those opinions too. But sometimes it's some people just want to go on a journey with the band anyway and don't want them to stay the same. Probably don't predict that they'd change something as vital as a front person. But this is probably the most I've ever thought about it. So thanks for the question.
Yeah, no worries. Obviously, one of the biggest bands, AC/DC, about to or hitting a world tour now, and Brian Johnson's been with them for a long time now. But people say the band never the same after Bon Scott. So it's interesting. The purists get you for sure, but you're 100% right. Get on the band and go for the ride, and maybe open your ears a little and just be prepared to accept the new and the old.
Yeah, look, it's a free choice, and there's no way of going backwards in time. So just do it or don't.
Sure, some things you just can't change. That's for sure. All right, we're going to hit another one from the album, the debut album for Party Crashers, but it's kind of a best of. Let's face it, as a debut album, we're going to go with Station Bridge. Here it is.
station bridge again. I'm not doing anything, I'm just staring at the trains again. Ori stands outside the rails, she's just staring at the girls. She don't want no numbers on her names, no, it's not that day. They come in waves, the tradies and the school kids and the suits disappear behind closed doors. Ariana wonders what they do inside those walls. I'm not wondering at all. Bolt cutters are breaking hearts on the blind street overpass. I'm just staring at the cars again. Taxis playing hard to get, pretend their meters can't connect. I can wait until the trains begin. The ambulance creeps twice around the War Memorial Park. Are they disposing of the cops?
Station Bridge. It's an interesting title. Give us a little bit about that one.
You know, I just really I love that song Hotel Lounge by the Belgian band Deus.
Yeah.
And I just always I love that title so much that when I wrote that song, I was like, I could put station and bridge together like I'm freaking Shakespeare or something. I just make up my own words. So that was entirely just a, you know, just a project that I did for myself. But the I guess it's set in Redfern, and the railway station entrance until very recently was on the road bridge that goes over the railway line. So the station bridge is there's other stations that do it as well. I think Canterbury's the same. There's probably more than I can imagine. I can remember right now. But yeah, just the idea of being on the road bridge and entering the railway station, and then again another bit of a, I guess it's a lockdown song because it's about watching the trains come and go, but you've got nowhere to go. Yeah, it's definitely. I was just trying to describe a scene on the Darlington side of the tracks at Redfern.
Yeah, nice. Kind of feel like you're sitting in any of those moments. You could be sitting on any train line, or watching a train, or watching the world go by, watching it, looking out the window, and kind of not being able to be involved. That's kind of one of those ones that take away for me. But you touched on solo projects. We'll talk about that one in a second. But Party Crashers, when are we going to see you guys out and about? You got anything coming up?
So we don't have any gigs planned at the moment, but we played a flurry of gigs just when this came out. But those who decide to follow us on those links have been flushing up, will know when we're next to play again. But we're definitely rolling out Party Crashers as a single, and yeah, we're putting some work into promoting that as a kind of another side to what we do. That obviously Stoked was the first thing that we put out there, and so Party Crashers shows another side, I suppose. It's yeah, that's the next thing people are going to be forced to click on if I get my way.
Ram down their throat. Perfect. And exactly. a great way to absorb it. There's so much in this album. In a 10-track album, it's a great listen. I'll give you that. And I'm not just saying that because we're talking now, but I come across many albums, and I'm blessed to come across this one and have a chat to you.
Hey, look, I'm stoked if the viewership is calling it a greatest hits when it's really just a one-off. Then that's I'll take that. I'll take that for sure.
That's a great quote. Take that one to the bank. Yeah, for sure. So solo projects. Let's talk a little bit about what you've had on the go. Should we play the clip first and then we'll talk?
Yeah, up to you. Yeah, I'm willing to talk.
All right, here it is, called No Escape.
Beneath the yellow-stained tooth of the dental hospital, I've got an overnight ticket for a luggage locker in the city I already call home. There's a movie poster for the 7th sequel, something that we shouldn't have seen. I'm trying to escape you You're everywhere I see. I sit at a window, watch as a tram line zip blocks a bricked off street. The bicycle drifts on a wet metal track, gives flight to a kid in high vis. A girl in a skirt tries to offer the hurt kid help they're too embarrassed to receive. I'm trying to escape you, you're everywhere I see. In front of the markets, when everything's knocked off, it suddenly gets real. He steps off the curb with his head in a tablet of at least one variety. A girl stands unfazed in a t-shirt emblazoned with the name of the day of the week. I'm not even sure, but she knows she's doing it. And if I'm trying to escape you, you're everywhere I've been. Legless.
All right, we'll cut that one there. Please jump on and check that one out. We'll put some links in the bio, as they say, but in the comments for you to jump on and check this one out. Really exciting, mate. Solo projects. You talked about collaboration and how much you love that. Yeah, this one in amongst collaborations and being able to produce with other people. Yeah, exciting time always to put out music, but there's just something special, I think, about solo projects when you've got a band and got other things on the go as well. Another chance to put a different spin on or a different outlet.
Yeah, look, I hear what you're saying. I think you're right in one respect. The funny thing is that one of the best things about that track is the fact that you can hear Ben Salter's voice coming on the second verse, and that's all him with that Octagon, Beach Boysy Octagon sound in the instrumental. So yeah, it's a solo work in that I wrote the lyrics and the chord progression, but in the recording itself is a collaboration between myself and Ben Salter, who, if people aren't familiar with, he's a multi-instrumentalist, multi-act, multi-genre tornado. I first met him when he was playing in a Brisbane band called the Giants of Science. He then pulled together a ragtag bunch of open mic participants and formed the 12-piece, whatever it is, 14-piece band, the Gin Club, who are fantastic and who are touring soon, are reforming to tour nationally soon. And yeah, just someone I became fast friends with. Funnily enough, I think it was when I was on the road tour managing the Red Sun Band, and he ended up playing a bit of drums with them, and they were between drummers, and we stayed at his old place, and then we realized how many commonalities we had. So when he went solo, I got drafted in as a co-producer and co-writer, and I played a bit of keys and a bit of guitar on his brilliant solo album, The Cat, which you must check out. So yeah, I had a plan to go and visit him in Tasmania, where he is now, and I had a plan to write a bunch of songs very quickly in the lead up to going down and while I was down there. And that song, No Escape, is funnily enough, I missed the plane. I moved from Darlington, which I've discussed lovingly already in this pod, and I moved to Ashfield, and I was 10 minutes late to work every day that week. I moved to Ashfield. It's only down the road, and consequently missed my flight to Tasmania. So instead of and the story of me missing the plane and spending an extra day in Sydney is actually the story of the song. Instead of going home, I just stashed my my luggage in a luggage locker at Central Station and went straight to the Covent Garden Hotel in Chinatown. And I just wrote down what I saw. I just, I fictionalized the scene. out of the people I was people watching. And I ended up going down to Tassie with a full page of lyrics and just, everything you hear happened on the spot down in Tassie. And Ben added his harmonies, which are brilliant, and a bit of extra keyboard. And that's what you hear.
Yeah, that's magic. They've definitely flushed that one out a little bit more in amongst time. But is there someone else you'd love to collaborate with on your journey as in music from now? Throw a name out there that you'd love to, a bigger name or a smaller name in amongst
a
that.
big name?
Who are you thinking?
Honestly, I would say that's probably not how I think about it. I kind of think that I could write with anyone.
Perfect.
And not because I think I'm, you look at me, but because I kind of think anyone can do it. And I think there's a view sometimes in some bands, they get too insular and it's like, oh, the singer's the writer and the bass player can't have any songs on this, which I kind of, if it doesn't work for the project, make the call on an artistic level. But I think the idea that some people are meant to be the writer and some people are meant to cop it sweet is a bit, I don't know. I don't agree with it. And I'd love to do a record of collaborations, but I wouldn't go around and say, oh, I've got to do one with, Peter Fenton. I'd love to do one with Peter Fenton, but you know what I mean? I wouldn't necessarily pick my favorites or pick people that, had a profile or something. I think I've written songs with friends that have never written songs before because they've happened to say a funny line at a pub. And I've said to them, that's a good enough line to be the chorus of a song. Yeah. Sit down with me and we can turn that into a song. And I think that's more my approach, that I'd collaborate with anyone and hopefully give them powers they didn't know they have, but maybe just that's not even it either.
Sure. Yeah, it's really interesting and a great take that you put yourself in the room and all equals in respect of, no hierarchy, no levels. It's just about an artistic collaboration that forms an incredible magic. So on behalf of all the punters that are out there that come to any of your gigs or have seen any of your music, I was a massive fan of Sarah Blasco back in the day. So not back in the day, I saw her it's actually not long ago when she performed in Melbourne. She was just as epic as she was back in the 90s. So, for all the parts you played in amongst her music over time, I'd just like to thank you on behalf of all the punters for pursuing and doing all these magic. I know it's largely unrewarded a lot of the time, but just keep doing what you do, transporting us to another place for 45 minutes to an hour in amongst sets and listening to albums, and all that magic doesn't go unnoticed. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I thank you for that, but please don't date us to the 90s. Me and Blaz only started making records in the early 2000s. So,
that's a quickly time disappears. Yeah, it was 2000s. I can't date you that much, I must admit.
Yeah, that's all right. I take the compliment in the spirit it was intended.
Correct. Thank you.
The 20th anniversary shows are coming up for those records, not the 30th.
Brilliant. Yeah, let's not date them more than they need to be.
Thanks.
It's feeling old enough. But it's great. It's awesome to have. Now, what was the last? I'm going to ask a couple last questions. What was the last album you put on the record player and listened all the way through? What was it? What can you think of?
I was maybe a little bit late to come to MJ Lenderman, but I've been listening to MJ Lenderman came to the Opera House, and I must have walked past the posters for it a dozen times before I thought I might Google this guy. And then not to mention the fact that your friend and mine, Chris Hamilton, had given him a rap, probably pushed me over the edge. I engaged Chris by reputation alone. I didn't really know him, but anyone that names their blog after a Richmond Fontaine song can't be bad, right? So sure. I took that into his recommendation of MJ Lenderman. I saw that band play at the Opera House. Geez, they were deer in headlights at such a big kind of sit down, formal venue. Still wonderful, but they seem to be a little bit out of their element. But I've gone back and listened to all those records, and I think if you don't know what I'm talking about, Manning Fireworks is a reasonable place to start, or start with some of the earlier, more unwashed stuff. It's incredible that the guy's 25, and but is it someone that grew up listening to Sparkle Horse is like on his bio, which just charms my heart. So I've been listening to a lot of his stuff, a lot of the Wednesday stuff, and then I think if you punch him into any of your streaming services, you'll get a raft of really great covers that he does. There's a Drive-By Truckers one that's pretty good, and then all his original stuff is off the wall. I definitely say, hey Google, play MJ Lenderman most mornings when I wake up at the moment.
Perfect. Don't say it too loud. Your phone might kick in and
ruin the whole bloody podcast. Yeah, sorry about that.
Not at all. We're all for that. That's for sure. So, mate, I'd love to thank you for your time. You've been incredibly generous as always on a Tuesday night. It's great to have a chat to you, get to know a little bit about you and what makes you tick and what ticks behind the scenes. We could talk for a lot longer. I'd love to do another part 2 in the future as more things come out in your life that we can chat about. But for tonight, we'll wrap it up there. And I urge everyone, we're going to post a couple of links, but robertfcranny.com is where you need to be. And also the link tree for Meet the Party Crashers, which is an interesting link tree. We do like to meet the party crashers. We all like to, Party Crashers gone. It's one of those ones that you got to be creative these days about what you use as those little social handles.
Well, thanks very much. And thanks, Aaron, for having us. I really appreciate what you do as well. And I've loved some of your episodes. I can't wait to be on the intro tape with, the likes of Adam Gibson and Ben Shammy. And I will make sure that this episode is added to our link tree post haste.
Fantastic. Thank you. And most importantly, enjoy the week and the weekend, and keep doing what you do. You're doing it. I love it.
Enjoy the week. Go the Blues.
Yeah, that's a tough one. All right. Cheers. Who knows? It's going to be an interesting origin, that's for sure. I'll see you out there.
I've really dated this episode to this moment, but let's see how we go.
That's okay. When it's 1-1, anything can happen from here. So it's even Stevens at the moment, but good luck. That's all I'll say.
All right. Thanks, Aaron.
See you soon. No worries. What a beautiful interview. Well, I'm biased, but I think it was a great interview with Robert F Cranny, chatting music, chatting life. And it's just great to have an artist that has, that passion really bleeds out in amongst those conversations and the music. And it was great that you got to hear a little bit of the solo stuff as well. When those magical moments come together, generally on short time frames, I think some of that magic in the room, collaborating with an artist, maybe when you miss a flight and you're on a mission to get down there and get your window closed as far as how long you had, when you're on borrowed time, sometimes the most magic can happen in the room. So most importantly, I urge you to get out and see a gig. Grab a friend that you haven't spoken to for a while. Don't just call them. Don't just text them. Tell them you're coming to pick them up and you're going to take them to something they haven't seen before, which is a gig and an artist. There's plenty of free gigs out there, so please don't have the excuse of not being able to afford it. You need it as much as everyone else does to get out there and experience the beauty that is music. Forget about your troubles, forget about life for a while, and be blessed with the magic that's in the room when musicians get to play live. There's something special in that room, and I guarantee you walk out a better person and much more fulfilled emotionally. So get out there and do it, and we'll see you out there this week.